My name is Daniel Restodan. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas. Been born and raised here. I've been in the old car business all my life, interested in it too. I've owned several auto repair businesses, auto shops, and buying and selling cars too. Currently, I own the Restodan YouTube channel where I take and make videos restoring old cars on a budget and show people how to do that. That channel now has 10,000 subscribers with 99% positive ratings, millions of views all over the world. My current job is working at Lockheed Martin as a liaison between management and the workforce. I help to develop and shape new ideas and bring them to the workforce. I also help with resolving labor disputes. My background job history: I began working when I was 14 years of age, shortly after my dad died. Started working in auto-related jobs, pumping gas, light mechanical work. Shortly after graduating high school, I took a job at General Dynamics, which is now Lockheed, painting airplanes. That job lasted about 5 years, and they were talking about laying off my seniority date. So I found a vacant auto repair shop on a busy intersection here in Fort Worth, Texas, and I took over lease of that shop and developed that into a successful business. I ran that shop for a few years, and when I was 26 years of age, a man came by and offered me a bunch of money for it, and I sold it. At 26 years of age, I found myself with a lot of money and no job for the first time since I was 14. It was time for a break. I took off driving across America, discovering old cars, buying them, classic cars, and bringing them back here to Texas, restoring them and reselling them and making money that way. After a few years of that, I took a job driving a wrecker where I was on rotation with the police department. That led me to buy my own wrecker and start dinosaur towing and salvage car buying. I bought and sold salvage vehicles and sold them to the wrecking yards. At the height of that business, I was buying and selling 20 to 40 cars a week. When it came time for me to start a family, I took another regular job at American Airlines in sales. Every day I showed up for work, I was number one in sales. But shortly after 9/11, that started to slow down some too, and that business didn't look that great. And about the same time, Lockheed called me up and asked me if I wanted my old job back painting airplanes. So in 2002, I rehired back on with Lockheed Martin, and I've been there ever since. The job that I currently have has evolved from that. Were the shops I ran successful? Yes, they were. Every auto business that I've been in was really successful. What was my role in creating their success? A lot of it was keeping my overhead down, choosing the right location, knowing what the needs of my community was and the customer needs were, and buying the right tools and equipment, and not buying things that I wasn't going to use much. A lot of it though was being smart and doing a lot of the work myself. My hands-on auto experience: I've had an interest in cars my whole life. I've been doing it for a living on and off for 35 years. I've always made money with it. Even on the side, I've had cars I've been buying and selling while I work at Lockheed and make money. I can do everything myself. I can do my own welding. I can build my own motors myself. I do all the mechanical myself. Electrical, I do my own paint and body, do my own glass work. The only thing I don't do is I don't stitch the interiors. My business knowledge: what do I know about running an auto shop business? You've got to know your cars. You've got to know how to treat people. You've got to know how to sell. It's a good idea to specialize in something. In this auto repair industry, there's room for specialization, and that's a good idea to do that, unless you want to have some super huge shop that's all inclusive. But a lot of times it's good to specialize in something. You also need to know, when it comes to buying and selling cars, you need to know what's the earliest point to get max profits and know to sell there. You need to know when to sell. What obstacles did I face owning a shop? Staff. A lot of the auto repair industry, especially the right staff, can be challenging. The bidding the jobs properly, that's a big one. Taking on something and bidding it to where you can make profit. That takes a while to learn. Also, communicating with the customers. Being able to tell these customers what's wrong with their car in such a way to where you could sell. A lot of times they didn't understand. How did I overcome these obstacles? With the staff, it was a lot of times it came down to better hiring, getting better background checks, looking at these people that came recommended more. Also, more competitive compensation. The good mechanics, I paid more. Another thing that was a good, I got a lot of mileage out of was going to the trade schools and finding, younger guys that showed a good mechanical aptitude. I hired them more economically in exchange for the training that I gave them. On bidding the cars, it was just learning the cars, looking at the condition of a car, knowing whether or not this is the type of car that I would want to run from or take on. Just learning the cars helped a lot on bidding the jobs, knowing that if it's going to need a lot of extra work, likely to bid it real high. But sometimes, it was good just send that job down the road. Communicating with the customers, just learning to break things down real simply where they could understand. If you can really explain yourself, it's amazing what you can sell. The marketing, choosing a good location is big. Choosing a good catchy name is big. A good, easy to remember phone number where people can remember that number off the top of their head and they don't have to search through even your competitors' ads. They know your number right away. That was really good. A theme for the business is good. My old auto repair shop used to be a Sinclair station. Even though I wasn't selling gas, I turned it back into a Sinclair lookalike gas station. And a lot of people stopped to see what that was about, and I developed customers that way. Even having an old classic car sitting out front, some kind of a prop, that can drag people in. Marketing is big. Social media is good nowadays to develop your auto business. On the hiring, like I said, that was really doing good background checks and searching the trade schools and talking with the instructors about who's got that drive to, who do you think would be good at wanting to learn the cars. That was really good. Facility knowledge, what do I know about that? You've got to study your community and have a shop that can satisfy the needs of that community. A rough example of that, a used tire store probably wouldn't do that good in Beverly Hills, but would do really well down in Watts. And in that tire store there, it would be good to have all the tire equipment and everything like that to support that business. Beverly Hills, you'd want to have a high-end shop, but you probably wouldn't want to have an old tire machine there where you get all greasy and nasty for a few bucks and then potentially get one of those cars messed up. So you got to buy the right equipment for the right type of shop that you have. You got to look at tools that you may not ever use and decide whether or not it's really worth having. Maybe not even buy them in the first place. Can I walk into a shop and evaluate that? Know what to, yes, right off I can. Staff knowledge, what do I know about running a staff? A big part of the job that I have now is, like I said, resolving labor disputes. That's kind of my job right now. I try to get everybody working together as a team on the same mission. And have everybody as a team player. And treating them right, and you can keep them. The leadership, how would I describe myself as a leader? I'm a go-getter, problem solver. I don't take no for an answer. I believe there's a way to solve all problems. When people come to me with a problem, or when I know of a problem, I try to have at least 2 solutions right away instead of adding to the complaints or acting like we can't do anything about it. And I'm good at communicating, so when problems come up, I'm really good at working through that. How would I deal with unruly staff? Again, as a resolving issues between labor and management, I have to deal with that all the time. I try to get with the bad actor and identify what the bad actions are. I try to come up with questions that I can ask this person to where they can come up with the solution on their own. You know, I try to advise them in a way that empowers them to change instead of just continually criticizing them. Sometimes, you know, people that work for you can have issues that you need to listen through and try to figure out what the best counseling would be to help them correct that problem. There's all kinds of ways. Like I said, I deal with staff sometimes that has issues and can be unruly all the time, and keeping them working together as a team, you know, that's pulling them back into that. But the power of questions, I get a lot out of that. Am I afraid of being disliked? No, I'm not. You know, I believe in every company, somebody needs to stand up and tell it like it is. We've all been to those meetings before where some big boss brings up some idea that everybody knows is a disaster. And when asked, everybody's like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, boss. Well, I always believe that somebody needs to come up and shoot straight and tell it like it is. And I'm that guy. I do hold an elected position out at Lockheed, so I can speak up and say, hey, you know, wait a second, this is maybe not a good idea. And you know, if somebody wants to dislike me whenever I'm shooting straight with them and I'm trying to do right by them, if they want to dislike me even still, I don't know that I really want to be liked by them anyway, so be it. How do I think I will work with Richard? I think I'd work with him just fine. You know, we both grew up here in Fort Worth, Texas at the same time, same place, and I would bet that we probably went to some of the same car shows at Will Rogers. Dallas Autorama, used to a big thing was drag racing cars behind Bell Helicopter on Trinity Boulevard on Saturday nights, or behind Miller Brewery. I'm sure our tracks have probably crossed. We used to have this big swap meet at the Paint Museum out in Crescent. That was like a Woodstock experience. I would imagine that we have a lot of the same automotive experience, and I like the way he thinks. I like his show. We're both car guys. I think I'd get along with him just fine. Why do I want to work on this project? You know, I get a real kick out of this Restodan channel I've got. Like I said, it tickles me that I've got 10,000 subscribers to it, and to read the positive ratings and everything like that. You know, I would like to do something better with what I can do with these old cars. I like the car business, and I've been in the car business. This just sounds right up my alley. Why does Richard need me on this project? I've done this. I've made auto repair businesses successful. All of mine have been. That 6-bay shop, the guy went belly up. I took and turned it into something successful. When the man bought it off of me afterwards, I told him, hey, don't buy a bunch of equipment. And sure enough, he bought a bunch of equipment, and he wound up going belly up. I've watched many people take businesses. I've seen what they've done wrong, and they're not in business anymore. And you know, I'm a car guy. I know this. You know, it's in my blood. And you know, I know what to bring to the people. I don't advertise my YouTube channel any at all, and yet it's done what it's done. And I think I could do really good with this program, and I look forward to working on it. Every day it seems like somebody's writing me and telling me the Discovery Channel needs to discover me and put what I do on film. And you know, I think that's awfully nice, and I think it would be great if something like that happened. Let me show you some of the cars I've got. This is kind of rushed. Impromptu. This is one of my latest buys. It's a 1967 Corvette, 427 4-speed. I'm the second owner of it. The guy that I bought it from was a big wheel at NASA. The title shows that it was from Titusville, Florida. It's kind of one of those NASA Corvettes. I think that's really interesting. I can't wait to build that car. It's never been wrecked. This is my 1957 Chevrolet convertible. I drive it every day. I put well over 200,000 miles on it. I built this car myself and painted it myself. It used to be a 4-door sedan. I took a 57 Pontiac convertible and clipped in that rear clip into the midsection of this 57 4-door. and built this car years ago. Like I said, it's a driver. This is one of my latest projects, 1956 Chevrolet. I've got 22 classic cars. They're all paid for. This car I built on YouTube. I was just gonna flip it, but bought it with no motor or trans. Shortly after I bought it, my neighbor, 87 Caprice, caught on fire and burned up, and I bought that car and used its motor and 700 R4 trans in here. I gave $200 for the Caprice, and I sold what was left of it to Apache Wrecking Yard for $198. So I have $2 in my motor and my transmission in that car. That old car got less than 2 weeks pay in. Apache Wrecking Yard let some kind of Dallas car buyer show film them crushing a car, and they wound up crushing that Caprice, so even it became famous. This is a 1963 Chevrolet I've got. I still haven't finished it. I've been building so many other cars that this poor old thing has taken kind of a back seat. But I hope to paint this car and redo the interior. I rebuilt the 327 in it. It's all numbers matching. It's a good car. It's got a lot of options. First year for an AM, FM radio, and it's got it in there. I've got other cars at other locations.